This is Steviebreech coming to you. This is me talking about my WWE SummerSlam trip, heading down to good old Los Angeles and hanging out with all my buddies, meeting a ton of wrestlers, and honestly just having way too much fun. I mean, honestly, this came days after me winning the WWE Doritos contest, where I got to go backstage and make the YouTube Doritos video that was aired on the WWE app. Um, I was I was buzzing huge off of that. I just honestly being able to go back there and meet the Bellas, Alicia Fox, Dolph Ziggler, um, be just honestly just treated like a royal star. And then once the video uploading, getting all of that, YouTube and Twitter love with all the people on there, I couldn't believe how many people recognized me and send me congratulations on that. I'm just completely humbleized by that whole deal. I never thought anything like that would ever happen to me. And when it comes down to it, it's one of my best wrestling moments I've ever had as a fan. I wish that every single person that watches this video has a chance in order to win something like that. And I know a lot of my friends like Luke and Miguel make fun of me because I win these contests, like the WrestleMania 26 contest and this one. But the one thing that I can say is that you can't win if you don't play. I mean, all these little contests that WWE puts up, somebody has to win them. And if you don't put your name in the hat, you don't have a chance. Somehow after Monday, I went back to work for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I made it through those days, pretty easy. Thursday, packed all my stuff up, put it up in front of the door. I went to sleep pretty early that day, woke up at 6, threw the stuff into the car. I had to drive my wife's car. I threw a lot of their stuff in there for their trip down to Disneyland. The second SummerSlam was over. Had to switch from wrestling mode into Disneyland mode with the family, and that's always a little bit of a hard switch. But I guess I'll talk about that later. But basically, what it comes down to is that if I follow you on Twitter, or if I reach out to you on YouTube, or you reach out to me, and we reach a level being a friend. A friend to me, honestly, is a big deal. You don't let your friends down, and you don't, basically, you have to help out your friends, because someday you're going to be in a situation you don't want to be there, and you're going to hope that one day your friends can help you out. And honestly, I have a friend, Victor, who I've hung out with a couple times, seen him at different shows, this, that, and the other, follow each other on Twitter for a long time. And I don't even really know how this came to be, but one thing or another, I reached my hand out, offered him a ride, and he was my companion for the trip down to Los Angeles. It's a hell of a trip. It's probably like 6 to 7 hours when you type it into your destination thing on your, I was going to say on your iPod, but on your Google Maps or whatever you use. My wife has some GPS deal in her dash, and honestly, that was only the third time that I've ever drove that car, and I hated it. When I sit in it, my head hits the roof. I have to remember to hit the little button to make the seat go down, and the seat doesn't stay down because she hasn't set for her, and she's a lot shorter than I am, so I have to constantly be hitting that button and putting the seat back into place, and that's just a major pain in the ass. Basically, I felt sorry for Victor because I'm a person, I put all of my other friends through it, Luke, Miguel, Ravi. If you rode in a car with me, I love to sing along with the radio, and I can't sing for shit. I listen to country music, and it's just, it's the way I roll. So for Victor out there, if you watch this, I apologize to you. As we hit the streets of LA, he said this is the most country music that I've ever listened to, and I honestly said that I took it easy on him. Because honestly, the trip was real easy. It was a 6-hour drive. We stopped 3 times. Once just because I had to go to the bathroom. Another time because we needed gas. Oh, thank you. A Slurpee? Slurpee delivery mid-video. But it's halfway drank. Who drank my Slurpee? Mom? At least Mom loves me enough to share the Slurpee with me. But we drove all the way down there to L.A. We talked wrestling. We talked Braves baseball. We talked San Francisco 49er football. It was a hell of a fun time. We stopped once because I had to go to the bathroom. We stopped once for gas. and we stopped another time for food. I don't think there's anything really big to come out of it. He made fun of me one time because we're driving through the Grapevine. I think the speed limit is 70, and I had the cruise control set on 80. And there's this cop just sitting on the side of the road, and as we pass him, I do one of these. Just I look at him the whole way, which I guess is the one rule you're not really supposed to do. But you know, if somebody's gonna shoot me, I'm gonna at least watch them shoot me. I'm driving to get the hell out of there, but I just didn't want him that moment of surprise with the cop rolling up on me from behind and flashing the lights on me. If he was gonna come get me, I was just gonna be ready for it and just pulling on over. But we reached our destination. We stayed at the a little hotel called the Ritz something or another. It was in the heart of L.A. $80 a night, and I don't know what I was expecting, but it honestly was smaller than I expected from Luke's. Me and Miguel had a conversation. Well, Miguel's not even there yet, so let me get to that part. But basically, I texted Miguel, said, "Hey, we're here." He said that he wasn't even close. So Victor asked me if I wanted to hang out with him, so we went on a little stroll. He seemed like he honestly knew where he was going, and because I hadn't been on my phone the whole time that we were driving down there, I had 6 hours of texts and tweets and other things to catch up on, and basically one thing led to another, and we ended up I guess where the WWE hotel was. And I've posted a video in the past on Twitter. Somebody linked it to me, found it. It was like a day in the life video from WrestleMania in LA, and this was the same hotel that they were in then. You can see, just fans just all over the wrestlers that are checking in. The wrestlers are loving every bit of it. In this video, you can see Stone Cold Steve Austin, Bret Hart, Linda and Vince, all sorts of wrestlers. You get to see that there's like an autograph session with the wrestlers when you're checking in and checking out. I believe when they're checking out, Triple H is doing a signing next to somebody really, really jobberish. It was funny to me to see him in that role because it's hard to remember him as the guy on the bottom of the barrel doing, just basically whatever he has to do in order to get his name out there. But it's a really cool video. If you go into my favorites, it should be one of the first few videos. I don't favorite a lot of videos, so you should be able to find it there pretty fast. But this was the same hotel. As we were there and we were hanging out, I closed my little tab, my little cheat sheet. I apologize. Oh, here we go. As we were hanging out there, it didn't take long before I was face to face with Wade Barrett, and I was sort of like, I didn't know if I was treating this like Access or what. I was way out of place. I had no idea, honestly, what I was doing here, and I was way out of my element. And thank you, Peyton. Half of a Butterfinger. Good times, but I didn't know what I was doing. And one guy got his picture with Wade real fast, and Wade said, "Hey, thank you very much." He went and got on the elevator, and I'm standing there like, "Oh, I'm standing right here. What do I got to do?" And I just was told, you got to speak up. And I tried to do it the best I could. I didn't want to be rude, and but I learned my lesson right there on what I had to do. And as we were hanging out, when we walked into the hotel, we walked past Damian Sandow as he was walking out of the hotel. A-Train was sitting on the park bench, I guess, waiting for a car or something like that. They were involved in a conversation. I think that's the one rule: you don't really bug these guys when they're, you don't want to walk up to them and invade their privacy or anything like that. So if they're just standing there, then you get them, and if not, you just let them go. Coming out the elevator was JBL, which honestly I was scared as one of the guys that I didn't want to go up to. I'm very intimidated by him. I've always thought of him as not really being that nice of a guy, and people have told me that he doesn't even like doing Access signings or anything like that. He just wants to do his job and get the hell out of there. But basically, I was told by the people that were already there that they had already gotten JBL and he was in a good mood. And as long as you were nice and courteous to him, he'd have no problem. So I followed him out there, and I stood in this awkward place as him, A-Train, had a good little conversation that went on forever. And as we were doing that, Sandow just sort of was sitting on one of the luggage racks, and at this time I hadn't really asked anybody for a picture or anything like that. So I asked him for a picture, and he was in a very nice mood. He's wearing normal clothes and everything like that. But it was funny. The second I put the camera up for the picture, he put that that grimace heel face on, which makes the picture even better. And I shook his hand. I said thank you very much. And as I turned, I almost turned right into Brodus Clay's stomach. He was there. I asked him for a picture, and he took it. But honestly, he didn't seem to be that happy that he was doing it. He snuck the little Brodus Clay claw in there, and sat there and waited and waited and waited as A-Train and JBL talked forever and ever about some bullshit. Honestly, it was like I didn't want to be like eavesdropping on their conversation, but when you're standing 2 feet from somebody and you're just trying to pay attention just to see when the conversation is going to be over, it's hard not to pay attention. And I wish I could give you the scoops on what they were talking about, but it honestly just was bullshit. And Sandow knew what I was there for, so he was giving me this funny little face as like he even at one point just gave me one of these like wrap it up, and I just looked at him and I said I really enjoyed your Doritos YouTube video, and I let him know that I was the winner. And when I let him know the winner, he said, honestly, there's a lot of talk about your video, and everybody thought that it came out as the best one. And I just told him that coming from him, that that was sort of like an honor, just sort of somebody sort of put down their video to put somebody else's over. I thought that was really cool. I ended up missing out on JBL because his car came around and he ran into it. They were going off to shoot the JBL and Cole show. Cole had already left and we had missed him by about a few minutes, so I walked into the lobby. And as soon as I went into the lobby, I walked right into Booker T. I got my picture with Booker real fast. I thought he was a real cool dude. I gave him the little fist bump. And it wasn't until I showed the picture off until Miguel. For some reason, he put his hand up. Not like Brodus Clay did the freaking Brodus Clay claw, but he put his hand up. And Miguel was like, oh, he just had to get that WWE Hall of Fame ring in there. And I didn't even notice. I know that I was using my little flip-sided iPhone for pictures, so I could see that I had it all lined up. So it's not like these are the greatest quality pictures. They're a little bit grainy as it is already from being inside a hotel lobby. But I thought he was showing me his parking ticket that was in his hand for some reason. I had no clue. I thought that was pretty funny. Made a video about getting a picture taken with the Big Show. I had a funny exchange with him where he turned heel on me to immediately turn babyface, and he really won me over. That was a cool moment in order to meet him. I got Kofi Kingston and Vicky Guerrero as they were getting on the elevator. Kofi was pretty sweaty. He just went for a run, and that just bogs my mind. People are saying that they see these guys go on runs, all the time, just to see Kofi Kingston or CM Punk just running down the streets of LA. It's just beyond crazy. As we were there, one of the things that I really wanted to get signed for this weekend was I printed out the 8x10 of me and the guys from the Doritos commercial, and I really wanted to knock those ones out. And at one point, we were just sort of standing there. One of the Bellas came down, got off the elevator, and was standing in front of the jewelry showcase that was in front of one of the jewelry stores. As they were there, I walked up to her and I showed her the picture, and she greeted me and she said thank you, and she really appreciated me doing the thing and said that I did a good job. And I'm not really trying to sound like I'm putting me over, but all of these people really told me that the thing was real good. She told me that it had more hits than all the other videos, and from watching like Total Divas and stuff like that, I could tell that the Bellas, they really care about being popular and things like that. But they were very, very nice to me. The first one they met was Nikki. And she was standing there. She signed my picture. I said, thank you very much. And then I turned. And immediately when I turned, there was 4 Total Divas cameras on me. And I was just like, oh, fuck. I felt like I screwed up the shoot. They weren't there when I started. But I got out of the way as soon as I could. And right after that, Bree came out of the elevator. And she had Josie the dog. And they went on a walk. I really wanted to get Bree, but they started their shoot immediately as she came off the elevator. The other one pet the dog, and then they walked off. And I followed them. I followed them out of the hotel at around 1.5 blocks until I was like, you know what, fuck it. They have to come back here when they're done, and that's just basically what I did. I went back into the in the lobby, and I just waited it out, and waited it out, waited it out. And then finally, you could see them as they walked around the lobby because you're standing in the middle of the hotel, and all corners of the doors have glass on them, so you could see them. They made, I think, 3 or 4 laps around the hotel. They finally came back, and they had like the WWE security real tight on them because they were shooting, trying to get people out of the way. And there was a little brief point when they stopped shooting their walk scene, and Bree with Josie sort of like walked immediately up to me, knowing that I was waiting there for her. Asked her if I needed her to sign anything. I showed her the picture, and we talked about the whole Doritos thing for a good 2-3 minutes. I pet the dog. Did this, that, and the other. I don't know why I didn't ask them for a picture, but I just sort of felt like in that situation, you either ask for one or the other because you're taking up their personal time. It's not freaking access. You're just sort of waiting around in a hotel. But it was a cool moment that I was able to knock out the 2. And every time that they shoot you, like the time before, and like when I met Eva Marie and JoJo at Raw, anytime they shoot you with the camera and you're like in like the immediate focus of the screen, if you're in the background, you're in the background and fuck you. But if you're like in there, they filmed the whole time that I was talking with Bree and petting the dog and all that shimmeroo. You have to sign a freaking Total Divas sheet. And you have to get your picture taken, holding up the form saying that you're giving your rights away for them to use you in their reality show. And as I was signing it, one of the girls from Total Divas, who's in charge of getting all the things signed, I talked to her like at least 5 or 6 times over the weekend. She just kept on being everywhere that I was there. Told me that she filmed the thing with the Bellas as they were shooting the thing with me in Sacramento, and she said, "Are you looking for Alicia Fox?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "You know what? When I'm done, I'll text her, let her know you're down here, and I'm sure she'll come down for you." And I was just like, "Holy shit, that's fucking awesome." That was about 4 o'clock. About 4:30 is the time that Miguel said that he'd be getting into town, and that was the time that my hotel said my room was gonna be ready. So I waited there honestly for about a half hour for Alicia. There weren't any more really wrestlers coming in and out of their rooms. I had to leave. 15 minutes later, I got a text from Victor that Alicia Fox had come down into the lobby and she was asking for me by name. And I was just like, oh, fuck, I missed my chance. I just sent her one tweet saying that it meant a lot to me that my friend said that she came looking for me, and that I truly believe that she was the hottest diva, and that it was going to be my main thing for this week to make sure that I met Alicia Fox. And after that, she retweeted my tweet. She followed me, and I think she just basically sent me a tweet saying that she would make sure that she'd had her eyes peeled and she was looking for me as well. I think that everything that I did with the Total Divas team is just by far way awesome. It was some of the coolest shit that I have ever done by far. So I go back, I check into the hotel, I meet Yaya for the first time. Well, not the first time, but the first time of the weekend. And we basically just put our stuff in the room. We have to jump into the car. We had to drive. We bought tickets just to kill time that night, where we went to the Anaheim Angels game. In my mind, I can't really picture what Angel Stadium looks like. I'm sure I've watched games from there before, but the Angels aren't a team that I really follow all that much, unless they have to be playing Oakland and they're on TV for the day. Here it is, like on the local Channel 31. But it is a dream of mine one day to be able to say that I knocked out all the baseball stadiums. When they opened new Yankee Stadium and when they killed off Shea Stadium, a little part of me died saying that I would never be able to see those fields. But it is a dream of mine someday to make sure I see like Wrigley Field and stuff like that. So if it came down to it, I'd rather go to a game at Dodger Stadium, but they weren't in town, so we went to Angels. We sat in that game. We honestly didn't give a shit about anything that happened. I paid attention to 2 girls getting in a cyber fight with their ex-boyfriend who was at the game also. All hell broke loose when this guy just posted a picture on Instagram and she happened to still follow him. And I don't know, like a few minutes beforehand, they were saying some stuff, and we were joking around with them, talking back and forth with them. But the second that picture got posted, they didn't give a shit about anything except ruining this guy's life. Top of the second inning, they take off. We never see him again. I don't know if they went and killed that guy. I don't know if they just went and got in their car and drove home. But I know that we paid $50 for those tickets. And I'm sure if they paid $50 or if they even didn't buy them on StubHub or anything and paid more for them, what a waste. That was freaking dumb. I mean, just beyond shits. I mean, that is just crazy. It was 80s night, so we made lots of jokes about the Naked Gun, a movie that Miguel has never seen. I also found out he'd never seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off or the Back to the Future movies. Those are 4 movies that I think I don't know, it's even more. That's 6, 7 movies. There's 3 Naked Gun movies, there's 3 Back to the Future movies, and there's 1 Ferris Bueller movie. Miguel needs to be strapped down to a chair and watch these movies. He's always going to Best Buy and doing these freaking trade-ins for Blu-rays. He needs to make sure those are on his pickup list sooner or later. Those are all classic movies that are just awesome. I could sit down and watch the Back to the Future series, all 3 movies, right now. Ferris Bueller, I can honestly tell you that I saw that movie a year ago in August when we went to a family sort of like a movie in the park thing. And The Naked Gun, it's been a while for me, but if I sat down to watch that movie, I am sure I could quote that off to you, one by one. We went to bed that night. We stayed, like I said, in the hotel in the Ritz, and it was honestly a little bit on the smaller side, and I think that we could honestly fit 4 people in there, but Miguel scared Luke off from staying in the room, just basically saying that we didn't have a whole lot of room, and knowing that Luke's sort of a guy that needs that, that elbow room. It's not like I wouldn't have given him the bed. I would have made sure that everybody was beyond comfortable in that room. I just didn't want anybody to be left out, especially where Luke lives and where SummerSlam is. I didn't want him making the trips back and forth. That honestly just would have sucked. Hearing what he did, I have to give it up to him as a wrestling fan for sleeping in a Walmart parking lot. It was very smart on his part. I'm not going to say it's not something that I wouldn't have done. I just was honestly a little bit concerned for him when he said that's what he did for 2 nights in a row, I believe is what it was. But the guy worked all night long. I mean, he didn't get off work until 3 or 4 in the morning, and then he had to drive all the way to L.A. I mean, I've stayed this year alone in the San Diego and in the Phoenix airport, just sitting there in the Starbucks, just waiting as time passed by so I could go upstairs and board a plane that was leaving in the morning. So I can't really knock him for anything that he did. I just honestly got to give it up to him. As you're a wrestling fan, you'll do anything to make sure you can get what you need. And if it was only one night, I probably would have laid down the passenger seat and slept right next to him. I just don't know if I could have done it for 2 nights, I guess is how long we were there. Woke up the next morning, and we headed off to Access. That's when we really did our first meetup. I got to meet up with Justin Subryan, who was hanging out with for most of the time. Mario, my buddy from Sacramento, came over. He had a guy that he was staying with that bought the SummerSlam Access package that lived in Canada. He was a good guy. He had another guy in this group that I don't want to say is a little weird, but he didn't really talk to us all that much. He was a little bit on his own planet, doing his own thing. But that's, what some people do. So, what am I to say about that? But, Luke came along, and we were in the front of the line because we got there really early. We woke up at 8. We went straight down. We went to eat at IHOP, and then we walked straight over because we didn't really know what the lines were going to be like for Access this year. They sort of scared us off with saying that there was going to be VIP lanes, and we didn't know if that meant you had to have a premium VIP, and then there was a VIP, and then general admission. The one thing is that I didn't have any general admission tickets. I had VIP people for everyone, so I was going to be one way or another. I just wanted to make sure that I got in there as soon as I could, because when you get the VIPs, it's not that you get in let in early, you get let in right at the time it starts, but the people don't come out for 15 minutes. But you can at least stake your claim in one lane and be in the front of that lane, because if you're in the front of one of the queues, it doesn't matter if you're who comes out there. You might get lucky and roll the dice and freaking I don't know who, an upper mid Carter that was doing. Like, you could have been at the one that had Cody Rhodes and Christian signing at the same time, or you could have been in the one that had A-Train signing. So you at least go up, you get your one autograph from whoever it is, and then you sort of reposition yourself because you know you're going to get. The first one is a guarantee. The second one is a pretty sure, so you want to get yourself in that one that you have a good chance of getting into. On the later Saturday session, that was just dumb on my part. I don't know what the hell I was thinking, but I make a blooper there. But basically, you're just sort of camping out, hoping that you're going to get a bigger name to come along there. But we had 3 Ultra VIPs right out the bat. We had to meet Cena, The Shield, and Daniel Bryan. All 3 of those guys were only going to be there for 2 hours. So we went to John Cena first to knock that one out, knowing that he had sold out. So he had sold the maximum amount of tickets, so that line was just going to be huge. From there, we got confused on whether if the Shield was going to be moved back or where the hell they were. They weren't where they were supposed to be. That's the one thing I know. So we went to Daniel Bryan's line. Daniel Bryan's line was a disgrace. There was only maybe 40 people in that line, and we flew through that line really, really fast. I don't know why people didn't buy Daniel Bryan tickets. I mean, he was the guy that was headlined in the main event of SummerSlam, and he was honestly an awesome guy to meet. Really down to earth, did anything that you really wanted him to do, and you couldn't ask for anything more from a wrestler. John Cena was an ultra cool dude as well. Miguel was able to get 3 things signed by Cena. He had no fear at all. I was a little bit scared on trying to get multiple items signed, but once I saw him do it, like 2 people, 3 people in a row, I was, fuck it, I'm with everybody else. I'm going to get as much stuff signed as I can. That's been a problem in SummerSlam's past, and Access Pass, and security sort of like cracks down. This year, the people that were with them, the agents or whatever you want to call them, really, honestly, in my mind, just didn't give a fuck. They were letting you do whatever you wanted to do. There was really no rules when it came down to the stuff you were getting signed. Just put the stuff down and just, they were letting you take your own pictures. They were doing this, that, and the other. Last year, it was sort of like taboo to get your pictures taken. It just was you can't do that sort of thing. It's either an autograph line or a picture line. This year, I don't know if people got complaints over the whole CM Punk deal, but done. When I was coming out of the Daniel Bryan line, Alicia Fox was coming to the ring, and I was sort of like marking out, like, I gotta meet Alicia Fox. I gotta meet Alicia Fox. I really wanted to get that picture signed. And as I walked to the end of the Daniel Bryan line, a lady was just, she was looking at me, and she said my name like twice, and I'm looking at her like, who the fuck are you? I mean, this was like a lady that was probably in her young 30s, who was very well kept together, did not look like a wrestling fan at all. She had blonde hair, and she had a whole bunch of WWE credentials around her. And she had a whole bunch of WWE credentials, like on these things, whatever the hell these are called, hanging around your neck. But they didn't like look like, Triple H things. They looked like, for real. They said WWE All Access, all weekend long, and she had some patch on her shirts, and I'm just like, she's just like, oh, Steven, do you remember me? And I'm looking at her like, I don't know who the fuck you are. And she ended up being from WWE and Doritos, and she wanted to thank me. She was honestly a little bit surprised that I was there. She was letting me know that they had picked another winner for the SummerSlam contest, and that he was there. And I honestly, at that time, didn't know who he was. It wasn't until I was in the Triple H line and saw that whole Mark Henry thing. And I was like, damn, I wish I would have won that. That was a contest that I knew about that I didn't even enter. I just entered in the one that was for my city. I didn't even think to enter in the other one. But I don't know how they did that, because you entered that contest for the Doritos SummerSlam one online, and then when you were sitting there at SummerSlam watching the show, they made it seem like they just showed up at Portland and they were trying to get people to cash in their tickets. I don't know, one thing or another, but basically, she took me over. I met some people from Doritos, shook their hands. They looked at me like they didn't know who the hell I was. They wanted a picture with me. Said, no problem. Took another picture with another lady. I wasn't sure who she was, but she looked way too happy to meet me. and she said she was from Doritos, and I was talking to her about how I showed everybody at my work this, and how I work in a grocery store, and that I was telling all the customers to buy Doritos, even though I work at the fish and meat counter, and I don't know. I was kind of like, it wasn't like I was weirded out, but I was in a weird situation. I was out of my element. They were non-wrestling fans, but it was really cool to be able to meet them and then be so appreciative that my video was able to give them so much success. As I came out of there, Alicia Fox was in the ring wrapping up a sumo contest between two people in the ring. There were two fans they picked out, and they were doing that, and she was being the guest judge, enforcer, gimmick, some deal. And I was sort of standing there, and as that ended, I yelled Alicia, and I waved at her, and she just waved back. I don't think she knew who I was. And the second time I was ready, I caught her eye again, I yelled her name, and I held my picture up, and I don't think she was ready for it because she still had the microphone in her hand, and the microphone was hot. She just yelled my name, Steven, and I was like, oh shit, she remembers my name. So I ran up to the thing. Security didn't really like that much. Miguel told me that the security came to come get me after I had sort of ran past them and ran up to the barricade at the ring, which was the exit of the VIP line for Daniel Bryan. And then once they saw that Alicia came up and talked to me and she was shaking my hand, I guess they just figured I was in the right place. So I talked to her for a good minute. She signed my picture. She took a selfie shot with me that she even shot with her own selfie skills. And that was honestly a really cool moment. She didn't have to do that, and she did. I lied to her. I told her that I wouldn't clog her timeline up, and I appreciated her following me on Twitter, and it meant a lot. And honestly, every day since then, since she's followed me, I always sort of check my followers to make sure she's still on it, because there's going to come a day when I get dumped by her, and it's probably going to be some of the stupid stuff I say, but it's who I am. But it was cool for the while. From there, we went over and we got into a line. I believe it was Wade Barrett's line, which honestly didn't seem like it was that long. Flew through that one real fast. He signed my... the hell did he sign? I guess he signed my volume 2 of the encyclopedia. He'd be in there. And got a picture. That was the time that we sort of realized we needed to get out of Access in order to get back in line for Access to start over. Justin had texted me a couple times. We had sort of left him in the dust. I think this was his first Access. Justin being the RKO infamous NWO, or he said just call him RKO NWO from now on. But he sort of got left in the dust. I don't know if he was hanging out with Luke or if he just got left on his own, but I don't know. I sort of felt bad that he texted me and was saying that he was trying to meet up with me, because I went from one line to the other line to the other line, and I wasn't thinking about where he was until he would text me. And I think it was in the Wade Barrett line that we were finally able to meet up and hang out. He's honestly a real cool dude. He really fit in with our whole group a whole lot, and I'm glad that he's going to like WrestleMania and he's staying in the same hotel we are, and we can keep this train rolling along, because he's a good dude to have on your side. We went outside, we waited in the line as Access ended for it to restart over again. And as we stood in line, we got to do the deal where you run up to one of the things. We picked one line, and we honestly left this line a couple of times, because people walk by and they have the signs in their hand that they're going to post. They won't post them until they get there, but if you're just looking in the right slot, sometimes they'll bend over, they'll hold the clipboard the wrong way, and you're tipped off on who they're going to be. And at one point, some guy walked by with a Zack Ryder and Kofi Kingston line. The person next to us tipped us off that it was going to be some sort of a diva, and we didn't want to be in that line. So, one thing led to another. Lillian and Layla came out. They were pretty awesome to meet, especially when you're the first person that walks up on stage. It was kind of weird, because they have all the time in the world to do whatever they want to do. They walk out and they sit up at their Access table, and then they immediately start texting people and looking at Twitter on the phone as you're just sort of standing there, and you're like, they just sort of leave you there in the cold. I honestly can understand if they do the radio and TV interviews and that holds up the line. It sucks if you're in the line, but just for them to sort of like, hold on, wait a minute, as they're looking at the phones, I didn't understand that at all. Once we got out of that line, went over and met Triple H. Triple H, awesome dude to meet. I mean, he is just one of the guys that I have idolized forever. he is one of the the best guys in the entire world. I mean, he was so nice to me. I was able to get 2 things signed by him, and he listened to what I had to say, and just one of those moments you just chalk up like, damn, I just met Triple H. That's knocking a big one off my list. I mean, I got him. Hopefully, if TNA doesn't fold, I'll be able to meet Hogan in October for Bound for Glory. Hopefully they can hold on that long enough, or hopefully Hogan doesn't get fired. But damn, that was awesome. As we were waiting in the Triple H line, what did happen as we were waiting in the Triple H line? We watched a few matches from NXT because those were going on. I got to see the tag team champions, Neville, the guy that everybody talks about from the indie scene so much. Pac, that was his name. Got to see him wrestle. I got to see another guy that people always. I didn't know who the hell they were. I knew the one guy because of his buzz, but I watched them wrestle, and they wrestled pretty good. I got to see a lot of NXT matches this whole weekend. Nothing that really locked it down, saying that I had to start watching the show. I just sort of gotta wait for their big debuts, and I'll check them out from there. From that line, you sort of see that a session is going to end. Each session is 4 hours, and every 2 hours they trade the wrestlers out. And now you sort of get into a line hoping that the wrestlers that are there leaves. And that's sort of a mean thing to say, but we got into the line with Epico and Primo, and we sort of moved our way through the queue. We let a lot of people cut in front of us until there came a point when nobody wanted to cut anymore. And there was 3 rows of people all doing the same thing that we were doing. We all got to sort of like that second to the last line before you get to the front of the line, and we just had a stalemate where just nobody wanted to move. And Epico and Primo could tell. They had their hands up like, whatever. I guess they sort of figured it out. But for some reason, they just stayed. There was never like the people coming and telling us that we had to meet them, we had to move along or anything like that. Just everybody just understood their place. Before everything got really weird, I was in the front of the line. I went up and I met as we were waiting there, I met Epico and Primo just so to kill some time. I went up there and talked to him for a good minute, just trying to see if anybody else would follow my lead. I got out of line, and then I just went right back to the front of the line. Nobody said anything, and then another person did it, and another person did it. So Epico and Primo were sitting there, and they were doing signings, meeting one person every few seconds, and that person just got out of line and got back in there, trying to make the time fill until the time they had to leave. Finally, we figured out the reason why they didn't leave is because they had a radio interview. Somebody came over from the Latin station that was playing when you entered in, having dance contests and stuff like that. They came over, they interviewed him, and then they finally left. Then AJ Lee and Big E came over to do a signing. They were honestly the hottest people that people were talking about that they wanted to get signed. Everybody wanted to meet AJ. Everybody knew that AJ was signing someday on Saturday, but they didn't know when for some reason. She wasn't in the first section, she wasn't in the second session, so she had to be in this session. So everybody was trying to find their space in line to make sure they were going to be in the right line, and nobody tipped us off for anything. AJ and freaking Big E came out. They got a huge ovation. AJ did a couple TV and radio interviews. She was one of the people that everybody wanted to talk to, so we were sort of waiting there in that line. And like I said, I was one of the first people in this line for when AJ and Big E started signing. I would have been able to meet them. Somewhere along that line, the real Americans, Jack Swagger, Antonio Cesaro, and Uncle Zeb came out, and they walked by our booth and went to the next booth. And I honestly dipped. See ya! I knew that Luke wasn't carrying anything around to get signed unless it was the few magazines that he had. And I don't even know why I asked, because honestly, now that I did ask him to do this, I sort of feel bad that he doesn't have an autograph from Big E, who I don't think he really likes that much, and AJ, who I think he is a fan. And so he got my encyclopedia signed for me as I ran over and jumped in the Swagger line. I didn't really care about meeting Cesaro that much and Uncle Zeb. I just really wanted to meet Jack Swagger again. And honestly, they got out of that line because they were in the first lines. And they came over, and they were behind me in line when I met Jack Swagger, but it wasn't like they were 6 years behind me. I could have easily met AJ and Big E alone, got my own picture taken with them, and then came over and still met Swagger. But I didn't want to take that gamble. I've been carrying around this Money in the Bank figure since 2010. I think it came out right after I met him at SummerSlam. And so I've been desperately trying to get this thing signed. Finally got it signed by Swagger. Awesome, cool moments. Him, Cesaro, Uncle Zeb. I'm sure everybody knows the story by now that Luke got into a little bit of a exchange with Jack Swagger. I just lost my mind right there for a minute. They got into a little bit of exchange where Luke was talking about Swagger. Cesaro heard it. Cesaro brought it up to the Swagger. Swagger, called him out saying that he wasn't getting an autograph. And you got to give it up to Luke. Luke looked Swagger right in his face from less than 5 feet away. And he just said, "Fine, I don't like you anyways." And that fits Luke's personality, but I honestly really didn't think that he had the balls to do something like that. And he played it up real big. You can see it in my video. He pranced on up there to meet Swagger. And I honestly thought that even though they had that exchange, I thought Swagger was joking around. But Swagger just picked up the access paper because he was the first in the line and pushed it towards Cesaro and just said, "Fuck it, I ain't doing it." Well, he didn't say it, but he had that attitude. And then Luke was able to win over Cesaro. And Uncle Zeb at least gave him a Z. He said that really took him out of Access, took him out of that whole night, that it sort of bummed him out. And I feel bad because Swagger's my guy and everything like that. But it sort of feels bad, And honestly, when I was watching Luke's video and he said that, it sort of took me back to when I met CM Punk. It wasn't like when I met Punk, it took me out of Access and took me out of SummerSlam. But it did suck, when somebody that you watch on TV just gives you the cold shoulder like that. Now, I don't know what the hell happened after I met the real Americans, but in my picture, it's light outside. And then after that, I don't really remember anything except when we were marking out because Alicia Fox was doing a signing with Natalia, and I sat there and watched that for a while because security wouldn't let me in there. And I just really wanted to meet her again. It's pretty easy to see that I'm a mark for Alicia Fox. I love the chick, and I would have met her 1,000 times if I could have met her again. But we left there. We went back to our hotel, and that's where we met Kevin. Kevin was just waiting in our lobby, waiting for us. Luke went to his car and drove to the Walmart that he stayed in. But we went to, like I said, me and Miguel had already went to IHOP, which was right across the street from our hotel. We ended up going back to our hotel room, trying to figure out what we were going to do. Our major plans was that we were going to go to Dave & Buster's. Those sort of got killed when we found out that Dave & Buster's was in Anaheim, which was about 30 minutes or so away. And we could have done it. I had my wife's little, I don't know what the hell it is. Ford Freestyle is what she has, if anybody knows what kind of car that is. It's like a minivan wagon deal. We could have put everybody in there, no problem at all, and done it. But I think everybody was a little lazy from the heat. It was really nice of WWE to put out water this year. Like, you could buy a bottle of water at Dasani if you wanted to for like $4. They had Coke for sale. But like, if you had a bottle, you just could have walked over and filled up your bottle out of like those like office cooler gimmicks that you see in places. They had cups out there and everything. Like, I think last year when people were dying on Saturday. 8 hours, well, I guess 9 hours if you count the 1 hour break. It's a long time to be standing out of there in the sun. When we were meeting Jack Swagger in that line, there was a girl and a boyfriend as they climbed up on the stage. The girl she reached the top stair and she fainted. Like, she just... Now, I'm a big Jack Swagger fan, and I didn't even faint. It was just because you're just out there in the sun, you're not thinking about it. You don't, you don't think about anything. And you just don't drink. And then all of a sudden, I think just that little bit of exercise of her walking up the stage just made her pass out. And they came over, they put her on a stool, gave her an ice pack. They took a long time out of the signing. Swagger, Cesaro, and Zeb were just sort of there. They took that time to go out and sign for the handicap line. Came on back. They finally moved her off and moved her over to moved her over to the freaking first aid session. The boyfriend, honestly, was standing up on stage, just still meeting the wrestlers. Didn't really care that she was down. She really didn't share it. Any in the world that his girlfriend was down there. Sort of felt bad for her for that. Damn. I know this was a long time ago, and we're coming up on Saturday night, but back on Friday night when we went to the Angels game, we were sitting there enjoying the game. Like I was saying, we didn't give a shit about anything that was going on. We were mostly laughing at the pictures up on the screen. You know, when batters come up the bat, they normally just have the guy there with the helmet, and he's holding the bat, and they're like, "Oh, not batting," and it says his name, his number, and his average. They took those pictures and they cut them out, and they put them like on a green screen image of like they put one guy's face over the Bad album of Michael Jackson, and they put one guy as Indiana Jones. Everything was the 80s, trying to get that over. The catcher on the freaking Angels, like a fat, like I guess you could say, sort of like an Asian guy, and they put him over Super Mario Brothers, and that was the fucking funniest picture of all time. There's one guy is Prince in Purple Rain, but from the whole trip, one of my favorite things from the whole weekend is probably going to be this Angels helmet. I'm not even an Angels fan. It's a full-size sort of like kid's helmet you'd go buy and like at KB Toys or wherever. And if you're a fan, just sit it on your shelf or wear it when you're playing wiffle ball. But at one point, this was filled with fucking nachos, and it was awesome. We were just sitting there, sort of pointing out guys that were out there that we knew who they were. Pujols was hurt. Hamilton was playing. Trout was playing. I knew one guy on the Astros. One guy. And that was a shortstop, and I couldn't even remember how the hell I knew who his name was. So it might not even have been the same guy who I thought he was. But the guy that was sitting next to us, he came down, and he had this filled with nachos, and I was marking out over it. I took a picture of his nachos. The lady that was in front of us, she was having fun with the whole deal. Next thing I knew, Miguel told me he was leaving for a minute. He came back, and he had 2 of those freaking nacho helmets. And that was a lot of food in there. That was a lot of nachos. I don't know what he paid for it, but they had to have been expensive. But these were damn good nachos. I honestly didn't even finish mine. I was hungry, but it got to the point where I just didn't want any more nachos. There was strips of beef in there and all sorts of stuff. It was good times right there. We became Astros fans for the night. We were sitting next to 2 people. A girl younger than me, probably younger than Miguel, was wearing an Astros jersey. And the guy was wearing a Houston Texans shirt, so every time they would do something, they won the game by a final score I don't even remember. In the 8th inning, the game just came unglued. I think they scored 6 to make it 8-2, or it was something like that. We weren't paying attention. We didn't give a shit what was going on. But anyways, that was the Angels game. Back to freaking Saturday night after Access. We walked all the way back to our hotel. We ended up sitting in our hotel trying to figure out what the hell we were going to do. We ended up just saying we were going to go to freaking IHOP because we just 4 dudes sitting around a hotel without the TV off, and everybody's just sort of like, moving their SummerSlam Access stuff around, getting it all situated, sort of getting our stuff ready for the next night. And we just said, fuck it, let's go to IHOP. And we went down to IHOP. We sat in there for what felt like 2 hours. It sat to the point of the lady cut us off where she just didn't even refill our drinks. I always sort of like tip $5 when I go out to eat anywhere. Even if we're in a big group like that, everybody's had separate checks, and I'm guessing that everybody probably tipped that much. The lady off one table would make $20. I got the apple soda and she refilled it, but we sat there for like an hour and she didn't refill it anymore, and it didn't fly with me. I only tipped her $1. $1. She gave us good service, all except that she just ignored us at the end, waiting for us to leave. If you just bring us your check and we say that we're, not ready to go, we're involved in conversations, it's just no reason to just cut us off. It wasn't like the restaurant was packed and she forgot about us. She just was trying to push us out the door but not give us any more drinks. When you pay, I think, $3 for a soda, and you only get 2, you get your original drink and then 1 refill. And it didn't fly with me. But IHOP, for the most part, was really, really good to us, except for that one thing. But I can see that people probably go in there and try to spend all night just sitting around in IHOP, killing the night in LA. So maybe that's what they tell her to do. But, after that, Justin took a cab back to his hotel. He was staying at the Omni. He also bought the SummerSlam package. I don't know what the hell Mario did that night. I think when I talked to him the next morning, him and his buddies, they were hanging out at the bar drinking, and I think they were saying they had a pretty hefty bar tab. But I'm not 100% sure on that. Kevin ended up staying with us. By the time that I figured out that Kevin and Justin walked downstairs, and I thought that Kevin was actually going to leave and go stay with Justin, and then Kevin came back. I was already laying in the bed, and I was already lazy. That I just never really got out of the bed, and I didn't realize until the next day. Was planning on just giving Kevin the bed, and Kevin ended up finding a spot where he was able to sleep, and we all woke up. We went downstairs, and that's where we met Luke. Luke was waiting for us down in the lobby, and we had planned on going to IHOP, but it just didn't sound all that great for eating IHOP 3 meals in a row. So we ended up going to Subway, and that was one of the worst decisions of my life. I just got a cold cut, and at 8 o'clock in the morning, just trying to eat that sandwich, it just wasn't what I wanted. I knew I had to eat something, so I did eat the whole full foot-long cold cut. It just wasn't good. I don't really know how to put it. As I took the hit because I was nervous. I walked us, I got us up in the front of the line, and everybody sort of just came into me as I got there. Mario came up 2-3 minutes after I had been there, and I was like, I won the race. He was hanging out with us. Everybody else just sort of came into our line in the front of the VIP lane. Now, when we went into Access that day, I honestly wasn't expecting much. Saturday's a fun day to go because it's Access. There's 2 sessions. They have 8 autograph booths. So the fans that are there get spread out, pretty good. But Sunday, there's no reason for you not to go to Access if you're going to SummerSlam. It's the street right outside. You're already going to there, so you might as well go in. Even if you're not going for autographs and pictures, even if you just want to watch the live show or do the fun and games, it's an awesome thing to be at, and I think a lot of people do that. There's a lot of people that just go up to the ring area and watch the show, to watch the NXT matches, watch the fan stuff. Luke has a video. He's talking about how he got to go up in the ring for the Fat Man Challenge, the big sumo deal. Pretty freaking awesome stuff in there. So, I mean, Sunday is just wall-to-wall packed. Just huge stuff. We were in the VIP line because I had a Shawn Michaels ticket, but Shawn Michaels wasn't signing until 1, so I had 2 hours just really to play and do whatever we wanted to. We ran up when we got into the National Guard line, sort of because they had the biggest names of the Access session. It seems like if they had big names, they wanted them in the front, so that way they could, as people walked in, be like, oh, there's Cody Rhodes and Christian, or oh, there's the Bella Twins, sort of like the ones that were on the longest line. So the people that are walking up, or there's always people who don't come into Access because they're just sort of like, taking it all in and everything like that. But I don't know, they're cheap fucks for sitting out there pretty much. But what the fuck was I talking about? I have no clue where I was going. I think I just wanted to take a shot at the people that were sitting out there. But Sunday Access is just slammed, packed, full of people. As we came in, we jumped up in the National Guard line. That ended up being Kofi and Rosa, and I think everybody from our group is in that line. And we did let Justin Ortiz cut in line with us. He was one of the guys that I really, really got to hang out with a lot. I think he was with us on Saturday in the morning, and he was with us on Sunday. So we got a lot of Justin Ortiz time in there. Good dude. But we got to hang out as we met Kofi Kingston. Oh, I know what I was trying to say. As we were in the line and we let Justin cut in there, Justin came in. He was in the front of the line with us. For some reason, security came over and they hustled Miguel. Miguel was one of the first people that were in there because he was in line with me. And he'd been standing in this line for the whole time that we've been sitting there waiting for Kofi and Rosa. And I had to show a lady a video on my flip cam of Miguel standing there in order for him to stay there. I couldn't believe that they would, try to hustle him out of there. I think she got Justin and Miguel mixed up. For some reason, I have no clue. But we met Kofi, we met Rosa. One of the coolest things of doing the whole thing was that when they did the Kofi and Rosa, I handed my phone to one person and they took the picture of me and Kofi, and then I pivoted and I turned it to somebody else to get the picture of Rosa. Kofi and Rosa, it was nice to meet both of them, and they're in the backgrounds of both the pictures, but they don't have anything together. They've never done anything together. Sometimes they put people up there and they have no reason to be up there together. It just sort of get two people up there on an access stage. So being able to split it and get two pictures separate was awesome. That was one of the coolest things that they did for me. From there, we went over and we got in Damien Sandow's lane. That was one mistake that I should have done. It was really cool to be able to meet Sandow. He had the Money in the Bank briefcase with him, the special one that he carries around, the leather-bound case and everything like that. But the one person, honestly, that I wanted to meet all weekend was Caitlyn. And Caitlyn was signing in the booth next to us. We finally got through the Sandow line, and then I went over and I got in the Caitlyn line. I believe it was me and Kevin were standing together. Kevin came up from behind me, and as we were waiting in the Caitlyn line, as we got to a point where he was coming down a lane and I was coming into the lane, I said, "Hey, Kevin, I have to go get some water. Will you hold my box for me?" The big freaking box that I brought to Access this year, which was actually pretty easy to carry around. It was easier than carrying around the smaller, bulkier box full of figures. Just having the one plaque in there was pretty freaking awesome. Plus, I was able to slide my 8x10s and things into those as I was done with them. So he was able to slip under the rope, hold it, and nobody really thought anything of it. What I did while I was doing that, you will never guess. I went over to try and get my picture taken with Scooby-Doo in front of the Mystery Machine. As I got out of the line and I came over there, Scooby was just ending his shift. I guess he's part of the mascots union, and they have to take, breaks every once in a while, just like they do at Disneyland and stuff like that. So Mickey got to take, or I apologize, Scooby got to go into the back and take his head off for a while and cool off and come back down. We went through the Caitlyn line. And as we were going through the Caitlyn line, Scooby came back out, so I was able to go over and get my picture with Scooby, and I did the Shawn Michaels pose in front of him, and that was probably one of my favorite pictures of the whole weekend, that I was able to do that. Now, one of the biggest gripes I have from Access was that they were letting people do, honestly, whatever they wanted to do. In this Caitlyn line, somebody should have put the law down. This actually was a Superstars photo booth, where you went up and they were sitting at the table and the WWE people snapped your picture and they handed you a card, and then you were supposed to go home online and they would have your picture on SummerSlam.com and you retrieve it like that. But they were letting you do autographs, they were letting you do personal pictures. So this is how it went. You went up there, you handed her your item, she signed Caitlyn on it, you looked at their, more than likely their iPhone, took a picture, sneeze, then you looked over at the WWE people, and they went, "Cheese," and they took your picture again. But that's not how fast it went. It was slow. Each person got at least a minute up there, and this line crawled. If it's the photo booth, you should get a photo. Would have been nice if I got up there, and I honestly probably wouldn't have done all three. I probably just would have tried to get the picture with the WWE camera, and then I probably would have got my encyclopedia signed real fast, and then I would have got the hell out of there. But people were taking forever. We ended up being able to slide up a huge portion of the line, because as somebody was doing the grumbling for me about how the line was taking forever and how everybody was getting three things instead of one thing. Somebody from the line griped to one of the security guards, and I can't remember exactly what they said, but basically the WB security was all just, "Will you fucking calm down, because if you don't get to meet Caitlyn, you're going to meet Rob Van Dam." That was one of the only times that I heard anybody sort of like put the name out there of who was going to be signing next. It was always supposed to be like a little secret until somebody came up on there, about who was supposed to be in each booth. But I think this WWE security person had enough of it that, everybody was complaining about this whole deal to them, so they just, let it out. And I thought at this point, I texted Luke, because I knew that Luke, the one thing he really wanted to do was meet Rob Van Dam, so I told him to come get in this lane. When I talked to him later that day, he said that he didn't get it, and I honestly felt really, really bad. But we made it all the way up in the Caitlyn line to where we were like third or fourth. And then when Rob Van Dam came out, it was like a freaking circus. Man, everybody was yelling Rob Van Dam, doing the thing. They swarmed him like he was just the biggest rock star of all time. He almost wasn't able to make it to his booth, which would have been great for me, because I really, really wanted to meet Caitlyn. I wanted to find out why the hell her shirts come, like, way out and then straight down. Like, all of her shirts always have... I can't do it. It's not 3D. And Kevin was just like, it's because of her boobs. I was like, yes, I know. That's what I was trying to do. Anyway, we make it all the way up to the front. I get to meet Rob Van Dam, which people are going to be like, why the fuck are you mad about meeting Rob Van Dam? Because I just met him like 2 months ago at WrestleFest in Newark. And so, like, I guess it's cool. I got another picture with Van Dam. I got to point out to people that, you know, every time he does the picture like this, it takes forever because he goes, Rob Van Dam, every time he takes it, instead of just going like, and like taking the picture. It makes you like feel, you know, sort of special that you're doing this. As soon as I got out of the Rob Van Dam line, I knew that I was in trouble because I had to get in that Shawn Michaels line. I had to go over and I had to, I went to the porta potty, and then I had to run the whole section of freaking Access. That wasn't fun. I got to meet a lot of cool people. I kept bumping into people from YouTube along the way, and they were saying hi. And I always try to make sure that I'm really appreciative, because honestly, when it comes down to it, I honestly wouldn't be able to do a lot of these things if you guys didn't watch my videos. And I always try to stress that to you guys, because I don't know, people like to talk a lot of crap and they make it seem like I don't really care about this, and I honestly do care about all you guys out there. It's just I don't know, it's crazy, but I honestly feel bad because as I was going across Access, somebody started to walk with me, shook my hand. I have no idea who you were. I hope you don't think negatively of me, but I honestly just said I have to get to that Shawn Michaels line, and I had to go right then, and it sucked. I mean, I met a ton of people that were really, really cool all weekend long, and I really appreciate it. But honestly, if you're that person who was talking to me and I told you that I had to get the Shawn Michaels line, I'm honestly embarrassed for the way I acted. I should have stopped and talked to you. But in my mind at that time, I just didn't have time, and I apologize. Once I got into the Shawn Michaels line, I was met pretty fast by a guy who makes videos. He lives in France, and it was fun to talk to him. He had a real strong French accent. I don't really know how old he is. I don't want to make him feel bad, but he was younger. His name is J17. Shoot, I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's I'm pretty sure it was like guitar. Guitare is I'm pretty sure of what it is. I don't know if maybe that is translated into something, or maybe it's his last name. But his link will be down in the description box for you. There was a ton of other just real cool people that I met the whole time that was out there. Yeah, you know who you are, and I just honestly do really appreciate who you are. When we were waiting in that Shawn Michaels line, it honestly was the point was like, I honestly just wish I can get meeting Shawn Michaels over with and out of the way. This line was huge. Most of the time you went all the way down a long straightaway, then you came all the way back down the straightaway, and then you sort of like zigzagged your way to the front of the line. It's just a way to pack a whole bunch of people in a little space. For some reason with the Shawn Michaels line, there wasn't even lines for it, but you had to go outside of the box and go down along straightaway, then come back down the straightaway, then get into the line. I think they just sold as many Shawn Michaels tickets as they could, because they knew everybody in the world was going to be meeting Shawn Michaels tickets. Sami Zayn, formerly known as El Generico, was dressed up in a suit and tie. He really stood out because of his beard, and he was just sort of standing off to the side of Access, just standing there looking around. And I called him over, and he took a picture with me in the Shawn Michaels lane. Nobody really knew who he was, and like I tried to play it off because I didn't want to be the one guy who exposed him. When I went to a TNA show a few years ago, I got JB to come over to me because I wanted him to sign his ECW documentary that he made. And as soon as he did, like a swarm of like 10 or 12 people came up behind me who also wanted to meet him, and he sort of gave me this look like, thanks a lot. And I just was like, Sorry. And so, like, when I got back in line, they said, "Who was that?" And I just said, "Oh, it's Sami Zayn." And it sort of stayed quiet for a while. And then I just heard somebody go, "Oh, the guy who was El Generico." And I didn't know what to say. I was like, yeah. And then all of a sudden I hear, like, from 3 people, "Oh, I loved him." And then I saw, like, 5 people go over to the barricade. And then he went from where he was inside, and he still was watching the matches from behind the glass where the doors are. There's some sort of a building that they bring the people in and out of. I'm sure it's some sort of a lounge or something like that for the people. And he just still stood right up against the glass because he honestly watched every NXT match along the way. Got up there to meet Shawn Michaels. I got him to sign my picture. I shook his hand and took a picture. I just don't really remember saying anything to him. I don't have a memory in the world of what I said to him. I probably just put down that plaque. He signed it. I said, "Can you sign it in silver right here in the corner?" He signed it. We took the picture, and that was it. I have no memories of really meeting Shawn Michaels except for the picture itself and how long that line was, how hot it was, and knowing that I needed to get this over with because we had to run back to the car to put our stuff in because we had checked out of our hotel that morning, and we put our stuff in the car in order to get back to Access because of how hard it is getting. Oh my gosh, checking out of the hotel was horrible. Yes, the room was small. Yes, the beds were small. But we paid $80 to be there a night, which is very cheap for the heart of Los Angeles. Now, as we were checking out, there was a line of people waiting to check out, and I thought that the guy was on the phone because of the person in the front of the line. After standing there for about 15 minutes, I finally found out the guy was on the phone calling around because his shift had ended and somebody else hadn't showed up, and he was like calling the boss to like tell on the guy for not being there. And it's like, you got a line of people here either way to check in and out of your hotel. Why don't you get that done? You know, I'm sure you're getting paid overtime or whatever it is. You got to take care of your guests or you're not going to have any more guests. So basically I just reached over the desk as he looked at me. I grabbed a pen and one of the business cards and I wrote breach room, whatever room we were, and said goodbye. And I placed it on the table with the card, and I pushed it at him, and he just looked at me like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm out of here." We went over, and as we knew, the Staples Center, it was just horrible to get into. It was just ends up being 3 entrances you can get into that I know of. I didn't know they had one on the far side. Muda, above average Muda, and his friend, they ended up being late to get to the show because of traffic. So I sent Luke and Miguel in because I didn't want them to miss anything. And I stood up there and I waited for Muda, being the good friend I am. I'm not saying slam them. I apologize, but they did ask me twice. I said, "Why don't you guys just go in and I'll wait for him?" There's no reason. It was my fault. I had the tickets in my bag when we were hanging out with him on Saturday. I could have easily handed them to him then, and then we would be in there. So I felt like it was my fault. So I just told them to go in and I'd wait on them. And then when they got there, we had like moments to get inside, or we were going to miss the pre-show match between The Shield and Rob Van Dam, Dean Ambrose, that being. But we ended up, like, he texted me, he's like, "Okay, I'm here, where are you?" And I said, "I'm on this side of the building." He said, "Oh shit, I'm on the other side of the building." He went to the other side of Access entrance, and we were on the other side. So basically, I said, let's just meet halfway, and so at least we can find each other. And I walked fast, and I ran through the swarm of people, and I ended up meeting him almost right on the other side where the other doors are. And as we were meeting each other, we talked for a minute, and then we just sort of realized we were standing in the line to get into the arena. We were only like 6 people out, and so we just sort of looked at each other and just acted like that's where we were supposed to be, and we were inside. He went and got McDonald's, which I thought it was hysterical for him to be eating at a freaking wrestling show, but he ate the Mickey D's, got some popcorn and sodas. I just went to the seat. I don't even think I got a soda or anything like that because I was just thankful that we were inside and I didn't want to miss anything. The show has its own review up. It was awesome to watch with those 4 guys. I'll go to any show in the world and make sure that I hang out with those guys because, I've gone to shows by myself and they're fun. But, when you have friends with you, like when I go to shows with Mario or I go to shows with Miguel and Luke and Muda and all them, it just takes it up 10 because you can just, if the show's not good, you can just totally troll the show, just having fun. Above Average Muda, being the guy he is with this whole, sort of like stand-up comedian side, is just awesome to watch a show with. He's awesomely cool dude. After the show ended, everybody just sort of scattered and went their own separate ways. We all stuck together and we did take a picture out in the lobby. Kevin, for some reason, didn't get the message that we were hanging out there, so he wasn't there for it. But we all met up. We all took a picture in the lobby. And as we were taking this picture, just some random dude comes walking into the picture where it's way obvious that we're taking a picture. And this guy walks in and we're sort of like, oh man, like sort of like giving him the business. Next thing we know, this guy wins us over like he's Billy Paz or something like that. And he's taking pictures with us. Then we just take a normal group shot that he takes of us. Like just some random stranger took a picture of us. Like I've taken pictures of people at Access who said they watched my videos and they want to take a picture to remember the fact that we met up and everything like that. But never just some random dude who didn't know who we were and knew that all of us made videos on YouTube or something like that. That was just beyond the fact of being crazy. Now, I went and I drove Justin home. I said goodbye to Miguel. It's not like it'll be long before I see him and Luke again. I'll see both of them in October at Bound for Glory. I drove Justin back to his hotel, and then I had to figure out how the hell to get to Anaheim. I drove to Anaheim, and as we got into the parking lot, my wife had already checked into the hotel with my kids and my mother-in-law, and we were all going to Disneyland first thing in the morning, so I knew I had to get there, get home, and get into sleep. I thought it was weird that as I pulled into the parking lot, the WWE merch truck was in the parking lot. And I was all, damn, I knew they were in Anaheim, which is close to where we are. It's on the other side of the freeway from the hotel we were staying at, but I had no idea what was going on. And then as I check into the hotel, this is on Sunday night going into Monday morning, I'm just checking in as a normal fan. I'm wearing my SummerSlam shirt that I bought, but this doesn't even look like it's really a wrestling shirt at all, unless you see the back, which has the big logo on it. But the lady hangs up the phone and she goes, "The Divas are coming! The Divas are coming!" And I'm not putting any extra emphasis on that at all. That she was beyond marking out for it. And I just looked at her like, what? She goes, "Do you watch Total Divas?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm a wrestling fan. It's a pretty good show." She said, "They're going to be staying here tonight. Don't tell anybody." And I'm like, "You just told me. Like, what are you doing?" Like, whatever. But anyways, we thought it was funny. We left to we went. I went upstairs. We slept. We went downstairs, and we ate breakfast. And we went upstairs to grab our stuff to walk out the door to make our first trip to Disneyland. We're walking out Monday morning in order to get there. And as we're walking out, there's a whole bunch of people in Total Divas stuff, and they're all picking up their bags with their cameras and their bags and everything like that, and they're putting it into their truck. And this one girl, there was the girl that texted Alicia Fox for me that I honestly saw 5 or 6 times. She just looks at me and she goes, "You?" And I was like, "Yep." And she goes, "Now it's just the point you're stalking us now." And I just, I was pretty tired from going strong the next few days, and I stumbled over my words. But what I really was trying to say was that, like, this was honestly and truly the one time that it was truly just a coincidence. I said, we're walking out the door, we're heading to Disneyland right now, and my kids were just bolting for the freaking bus stop because they knew that that's where we were going. My wife is covering up her face because now she realizes that these WWE people recognize who I am and everything like that. And I honestly thought that was going to be the end of it. Then as we were, we got home the next day, and as we got home the next day, later that night I looked out the window because I heard a ruckus. And it was the WWE merch truck pulling back in. I guess they decided they were going to stay in Anaheim again. And they came back and they stayed at our hotel. And it was parked right outside our window, which was the trip when you looked out the window in the morning to see John Cena looking at you from the merch truck like this. And Sheamus giving you some, I don't know, some sort of weird grin on there. And as we were eating breakfast on Tuesday, I looked out the window and I just saw the bright red hair of Eva Marie. And I was like, holy shit, there's Eva Marie and her douchebag boyfriend from the TV show. And after a minute, then I saw JoJo. She came walking out, and then to even out the group was Natalia. Natalia was somebody that I hadn't met from all of those groups, so I ran out there with my cell phone real fast, got a picture of Natalia in the parking lot, shook her hand, and Eva Marie and JoJo were sort of looking at me like, oh, what the fuck about us? And I just looked at them and I said, hey, I met you guys on Monday. I don't want to hold you guys up. I know you guys are heading out to Bakersfield. Good luck in the future. And I almost wanted to say in your future endeavors, but I didn't want to be too much of a douchebag. But it was cool because Peyton got to see the wrestlers, and she saw Natalia. And I don't think Natalia really noticed when she did it, but when I said, hey, Peyton, look, those are the wrestlers, like, she gave her like the whole like hulked up on her. And that was pretty cool to get a picture with Natalia and see the Total Divas people one more time. But the best was on Friday, our last day into Disneyland. We were walking into the park for, I think, the first time. We'd spent our morning over in Disneyland. Over in California Adventures that day. And we went walking into Disneyland. And everybody knows that as you walk into Main Street, there's a corner off to the side, and that's where the cast members come in and out. And when you're walking in, you're able to look over and you're able to see the ones that they always put out front is Pluto, Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, and Goofy. And those are the ones you're always looking for, because those, most of the time, the kids know those are the main eventers. Those are the the Hall of Famers of Disneyland. Those are the ones that they always try to put out there. So you try to get your kids pictures with all of those guys. And as we were walking up and over there, I'm just looking at this guy, and I honestly don't know who he is. I just know that he's somebody in my mind, and I'm trying to fucking figure out who the hell it is. It wasn't until I got 2 steps from him, that's when it finally clicked into my mind that it was Mick. Mick Foley, that being. And I was like, holy shit, because people have been telling me all week long that I was missing him by like 2 or 3 weeks. I'm sorry, by just like 2 or 3 minutes. Most of the time it was 10. Like, we were getting on the Goofy Sky School, had a good long discussion with a girl, because I was wearing a Macho Man shirt, and then she was talking to me about Macho Man, and then she ends it as she takes her fast pass for us to move on to the ride. She goes, oh yeah, Mick Foley was here 10 minutes ago. And I'm like, what the fuck? You gotta be kidding me. I met a good friend, Reno, who I've emailed back and forth a few times. I met him in Disneyland as we were getting on the Haunted Mansion ride, and he was able to show me that he had met Mick, and I was like, fuck, I've been looking for him all week long. I didn't know that he was still there on Friday. I guess that he went all 5 days, like we went all 5 days, so I just kept on missing him over and over and over again. Mick was nice enough to take a picture for me. His wife was honestly the one that offered to take it, and I was like, no, I'll be out of here in just 1 minute. And I took the selfie, I just lifted it up, he put the guns up, and I just flipped it, and we were on our way out of there, and I got to tell my wife all about him being a Santa Claus, and his new documentary that's coming out, this, that, and the other. But that was being our last day of Disneyland. It came down to it. It's an awesome trip. Hope all of you guys do it. It's an hour and 17 minutes. Fuck me. Hope you guys enjoy it. If not, send me your hate mail, and I'll read it, and we'll go from there. But thank you guys. That was my SummerSlam trip. I hope you guys can make it out next year, because there's not a doubt in my mind that we'll be doing it up in LA again next year. Peace out.